Hello everyone and welcome to the EveAIO YouTube channel. In this video I'm going to be going ahead and breaking down the Captcha page within the bot. So to go ahead and explain the purpose of this page, this is where your Captcha solvers are going to be stored as well as your Captcha services. Now essentially the reason why you need this page is because when you're running your tasks and your tasks are going through websites that enforce Captcha upon the checkout process, your Captchas need to be solved so you can go ahead and submit the checkout. So that is what I'm going to go ahead and break down in this video. I'm going to break down the Captcha solvers as well as the services on the right side here. So we're going to focus on the solvers first, then at the end of the video I'll go ahead and break down this section of the page. So a Captcha solver is essentially a solver where your captchas are sent to so they can be solved. I'm going to go ahead and show you how to create a solver. Hit this addition button, that will go ahead and create a solver, and as you guys can see we have a few options here before we go ahead and enable it. You have the solver name which you can configure over here, which I will do in a moment. You have this minus button to go ahead and actually delete the solver, and I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate that right now. So I hit this, it will go ahead and delete the solver. Then we have the slide button here to go ahead and actually pop up the solver and enable it. At the moment it's currently disabled, that's why I swiped to the left. If I swipe to the right, it's going to pop it up. I'm not going to do that just yet. I want to finish off explaining this tile, then we'll go ahead and pop it up. So below here you can go ahead and configure the solver name. I'm going to call this video test, and that will go ahead and change the solver name. It hasn't updated just yet because I need to click out the fields. Once I do that I will. You can switch to a different tab and switch back in, and as you guys can see it's been updated, so it's good for distinguishing purposes when you've got multiple Captcha solvers. And below that you can configure whether you want your solver to be checkpoint dedicated. Now essentially what this is that on some websites they have checkpoint. The checkpoint requires captchas to be solved, and you can go ahead and dedicate an entire solver for that purpose. I'm not going to do that, but if you do want to do that, all you simply have to do is tick it. This box is ticked, and then when we launch it, the solver will be dedicated to checkpoint. So I'm going to go ahead and disable this and actually launch the solver here, and this is what the solver is going to look like. You're going to have your solver name at the top. You can refresh the solver with this button, and then you have an empty field and the set button. This is the place you can go ahead and set a proxy for your solver. So if you'd prefer for your solver not to be on your home IP and you want to set a proxy, you simply enter it in here, hit the set button, and it will go ahead and set that proxy for your solver. For the purpose of this video I'm not going to use a proxy, so I'm going to go ahead and remove it. I'm going to hit the set button after I've done that because that will go ahead and save any changes I make to this field. Please ensure when you're going ahead and making changes to this field you do hit the set button after every single change, because that will go ahead and save the change you just made. So whether that's swapping out a proxy, removing a proxy altogether, or adding a proxy for the first time, make sure you utilize this button. Below that you have the YouTube button, the Google button, and the clear cache/IP button. The YouTube button will obviously take you to YouTube, in which you can go ahead and watch YouTube videos to generate activity on your Gmail account that will help you get one-clicks. I will explain that in just a moment. Then you have the Google button that will take you to the Google login. You can go ahead and log into your Gmail, so the solver is actually logged into a Gmail when it is solving the captchas. Then you have the clear cache/IP button, and essentially what this button does is, let's say for example an error occurs, you can utilize this button. If the proxy is no longer needed, then obviously go ahead and utilize this button, or if you want to go back to local or switch the proxy, then obviously utilize this button as well. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the Google button, and that will prompt me to log into my Google account, which is what I'm going to go ahead and do right now. So I'm going to grab my Gmail here to log into. I'm going to grab the email firstly because it's asking for my email or phone number. Then I'm going to go ahead and grab my password, hit next. As you guys can see, it's a pretty simple Google login. We're going to go ahead and jump into my account. As you guys can see, I've logged in and I'm ready to go. Now if I hit the YouTube button, it will take me to YouTube with me logged into the account I just logged into. Then I can go ahead and click on any random video here. You can configure it as much as you want. You can put it to the lowest quality. You can drop a like on the video, dislike. You can go ahead and comment on the channel as well. But essentially what you're doing here is you're generating activity on your account, which will help you get one-clicks when it comes to solving the captchas. So now that I've gone ahead and broken down the Captcha solver, the last thing I want to mention is that if I go ahead and close this down here, switch this back here, change it to checkpoint dedicated, and launch it back up again, you guys will see that it will say checkpoint dedicated at the bottom, just so you guys remember that. Let's say you've got a bunch of solvers and you just don't know which one is which, even with the name configuration, that's always useful to know. Now to break down this part of the page, it's essentially Captcha services that will also allow you to go ahead and solve your captchas that are coming through from your task. So 2Captcha, Anti-Captcha, and Cap Monster are Captcha solving services. So essentially what you guys can do here is put in your API key so you can use these services captchas, and for 2 captcha and anti-captcha, you can go ahead and put in your API key and check your balance. Now, if you're wondering why you need to check your balance when it comes to 2 captcha and anti-captcha, it's because they go on a balance-based system. So based on the captchas they go ahead and solve, that will take away money from your balance, and essentially it'll deplete over time depending on how many captchas you send to that service. And then for autosolve, you can go ahead and put in your access token as well as your API key if you want to utilize that. And for Poseidon, you can go ahead and put in your API key down here as well. That is going to go ahead and conclude the Captcha page overview at EveAIO.